All right, next game on the docket, and here we go. And Addie's picking three of the four games we've got on task here tonight. This is going to be one that we're going to be watching at the tailgate at the Georgia Tech Georgia State game. Miami, a 2.5-point favorite against Florida. Guys, I'm going to go first here. I have been sitting on this. I have been wondering what's going to happen. I've been looking at different things. And I'll tell you this, if this game was played in Orlando, if this game was played in Nashville, if it was played in Vegas, Dallas, Timbuktu, Djibouti, Africa, I don't care where this game was played, Miami wins. I also said that Miami would be 9-0 going into Atlanta. And here on August 28th, I'm saying that Florida wins this game in the Swamp. I'm taking the Gators to defend home turf, a massive open season win for Billy Napier. The path to bowl eligibility, I don't know what it is. Maybe I learned my lesson from last week. Hand up situation. When you got a bunch of transfers, you got a bunch of new faces, and you go into an environment that's not comfortable, Ireland last week, but you go into a home place that's going to be rocking because those fans understand the magnitude of what this means. I think that it's not necessarily going to gel. I do still think Cam Ward can be a Heisman finalist, but I'm going to take Graham Mertz and his consistency. They got this kid named Trey Wilson, Eugene Wilson III. He's kind of a SEC commodity. I think that this game he makes the leap to a national type of player where we're like, oh my gosh, this kid's really, really good. I think Florida's going to win this football game close. I got Florida winning this one. I think the Gators still win at home against Miami, and a lot of questions going to be asked in Coral Gables. We get all this talent every single year, and we drop a game to someone we shouldn't. On paper, Miami should not lose this football game. What's it going to say if Cristobal and Miami lose to Billy Napier, two coaches that got to their respective jobs at the same time but seem to go on two different paths? Kind of. Will, we'll go to you first. Your thoughts?
I disagree with you. I'm taking Miami. I just think Miami has the better team at nearly every position. I see your Trey Wilson, and I raise you Xavier Restrepo. I think Restrepo is a better receiver at Miami than Wilson if we're just going to match up positions and personnel. Cam Ward, I think, is a dynamic, electric playmaking quarterback. Graham Mertz kind of puts you to sleep, but that doesn't mean Graham Mertz isn't good and is not good at what he does. And also, we've seen Billy Napier has built an offense around Graham Mertz to get the most out of him, which a good coach should do. But I think Cam Ward's ability to make plays down the field, especially better than Graham Mertz, is going to make the difference in this game. And I think it really comes down to offense. If Florida can get a couple stops early, that's going to make this a close game. Florida cannot get in a track meet. They're not built for track meets. Their offense is not built for track meets. And they're going to have a tough time because I think Miami can really stretch the field vertically and really cause problems. It's a tough environment, but I think Miami, they're going to be able to be balanced. They ran the ball really well last year. Outside of one play that cost them in a big game. And with Cam Ward, I just think it's going to be too much for Florida. Florida's really good at home, but Miami's a really good team.
Yeah. No, I mean, that it makes sense. I mean, I think that when you look at what this team could be on paper, and if they realize that potential too on Saturday, like they could boat race Florida out of their own stadium. I don't know. I think this is going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun game to watch. My hope is that I hope that Cam Ward is legit because it's about time for Miami to have actually found a consistent threat at the quarterback position. I'm just going to go with consistency. I think I got bit in the butt last week picking on paper against the continuity. I feel like Florida has a little more continuity in that area, but like you said, Will, I mean, one of the big storylines is kind of the interior defensive line in this game. Miami's starting two transfers in the interior defensive line. They got an NC State transfer and then Simeon Barrow from Michigan State. And then what could be something interesting on the defensive line in general for Florida is Joey Slackman, the Ivy League transfer, going to be making his SEC or his college debut in the big boy football. So I'm going to go I'm sticking with Florida here, but Ralph, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, if anyone else is playing quarterback for Miami, I'm probably with you on Florida. But with Cam Ward, he's just too much of a playmaker not to choose with. I think he's got one of the best playmaking abilities in the back as a quarterback this year. Obviously, the Heisman has him as one of the top candidates for a Heisman this year. He's projected to be really good. Help out Miami. You have Miami winning the ACC this year. I like Cam Ward. I think that this is the reason why they win this game. I'm going to go Miami minus 2.5. There's not much I can really say. I want Florida to be good. I've always said this. I think when the SEC, when the top teams are good, it's way more fun to watch. And Florida, being one of those top brands in the conference, is when they're good, they're fun to watch. It's fun to watch games that are actually, good instead of watching blowouts happen. So
Yeah,
I go back to last year when Florida went to Utah and played horribly in that game. And I just think that I don't know if they can do that this year. I don't know if they can perform to the top level this year. I just think Miami goes in, wins the game. I think they cover. I mean, I think it's a close game, and I still think they cover.
yeah. No, I don't hate that. I don't hate that. I mean, this is a fine line in terms of 2.5 points on the road. Here's one stat that I found that was interesting. Pro Football Focus does a stat that essentially tries to kind of give you. They break down every single throw a quarterback makes, and they compare to what should have been, or maybe a turnover worthy type of throw. So essentially, what should have been an interception, maybe the defense didn't capitalize, or the quarterback got bailed out. Which, look, I know that we deal in a world of absolutes. We're not necessarily Sith Lords, but we do deal in a world of absolutes. But this is something for me that Cam Ward threw 25 turnover-worthy throws last year. Now, he only had 7 picks, but he put the ball in danger. That's where I think to pull off an upset of sorts, if Florida can capitalize that with a defense that I think can be pretty solid, that's where you could see for my pick at least, you could start to see this game kind of change tides. You could start to see if Florida, get some motivation. Now, look, I'll say this too. I think that the perceived media attention on Florida does not accurately reflect how that team feels about their chances here in 2024. We've all been down on Florida. Like we've all pretty much said, and like Will, you started out with talking about how they've got the hardest back end of a schedule that we think we've ever seen in the history of college football. Now, obviously, we say that, here on August 28th, things can change. But it almost feels like the beginning of half of the season, I just think Florida's going to know what's at stake because what's at the back half. If you can steal one, to me, would be very interesting. So I don't know. I think a game could be kind of ugly, kind of a messy game week 1. And it's going to be hot. I believe this is a 3:30 Eastern kickoff in Gainesville. Brutal weather.